going on, Wolfpack Nation? Thank you so much again for tuning back in here with us as we go to part 2 now of our breakdown of the ACC football season here with Dan Siegel from ACC Content. So make sure, again, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's free to do and really helps support us in the channel. And also, to make sure to give us a video like, check out all of our great in-state content, and give us a follow at Tuffy Talk Now. And also, to give Dan over there at ACC Content on Twitter a follow as well for all of your ACC sports analysis. Make sure to go check them out. So basically, again, just to kind of a quick recap, so basically what we're doing is for every ACC team, we're giving a grade, a letter grade, including pluses and minuses on how we feel that we kind of grade their season. And so we if you haven't checked out part 1 yet, where we start off, make sure to go check that out. But we're going to start here with Louisville. So Dan, I'll kind of hand it to you with Louisville. That was predicted actually at the beginning of the season to go 5-7 overall, and ended 6-6. So again, pretty close expert analysis there. And what grade would you give them?
I just gave them a C, right? It's just very, very pedestrian, like it's meh. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They started out pretty poorly, and I think some of their former players, like Mekhi Becton, Jair Alexander, spoke out on Twitter, social media, saying, like, something's got to change. Things got a little better. But, yeah, they ended up 6-6, very mediocre. Cunningham kind of bailed out their offense, who lost a lot of weapons. But Cunningham's a very good quarterback who was able to account for a lot of that. Their defense, it did improve a bit, not drastically, but it was a complete liability. So, just to stay very meh kind of feeling.
Yeah. Megan?
I had them a C as well. They are the epitome record-wise of average. They were 400. They were 500 at home, and they were 500 overall. And I believe that's right. And, I think if it wasn't for Malik Cunningham, they would be a lot worse. And you could say that about NC State too, with Devin Leary, or you could say that about, like, you could say about Carolina. Carolina was terrible, and we were a lot worse without Sam Howell. So I just think they were average. They had a close game against Wake Forest. They had a close game. I can't remember who else it was, but I know it was Wake Forest's game. I'm looking back up here now. Virginia, they lost by 1 point to Virginia at home. But nothing.
Epic collapse in that game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I mean, they got embarrassed beginning of the season by Ole Miss. I remember that game.
Yeah.
Their biggest win probably was against Florida State, maybe Boston College. But they were competitive to a degree against Clemson. And I misspoke on the first episode about Florida State versus Clemson. I believe it was the Louisville versus Clemson game that was so close at the end, because we were looking at it, watching it late in the season, and they choked. So they're right there to be like a solid team. They're just not over this little speed bump they can't seem to get over, whatever it is. And I think it's defense. I think their defense is what's holding them back. Maybe you could argue is Satterfield. He won Coach of the Year his first year, and then is he the next Fuente? I mean, maybe.
Maybe.
They have
Michael?
some similarities, but I don't think it's that bad.
I don't know. I know a lot of Virginia Tech fans. They are. They were very glad to see Fuente go, and they were very perplexed by him the whole time.
Yeah. Michael?
So Louisville, I actually changed them to a C-. I had them at a C, but as we've been talking here, I switched them to a C-. They, like we said, Malik Cunningham does feel like he pretty much won them all the games that they won and kept them in there. Their game against UCF, that was a crazy ending, and they had to get they threw a pick, and then UCF threw a pick right back. Like, they got lucky to win that game, and so I with a quarterback like Malik Cunningham, you'd like to think that you could go better than just 500 in conference and 500 overall. So
Yeah, so a couple of things. First of all, I definitely think with Scott Satterfield, I think that this definitely is proving that just his first season was a little bit more of a fluke than anything else. I think after that season that everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, Scott Satterfield, he is the man." but yeah, it's kind of been back to earth. But also, too, can we say that maybe Louisville, at least historically, with Lamar Jackson and now with Malik Cunningham, could possibly, miss out on opportunities with two straight super athletic and solid quarterbacks?
Imagine having not seen Lamar Jackson, you would think Malik Cunningham was like unbelievable.
Right. But I mean, literally for Louisville to not have won ACC title with Lamar, and then now with Malik, it's like 6-6 really with Malik Cunningham. Like you gotta do better than that. But and also too, the reason why I kind of agree with Dan, it's middle of the road. But the reason I gave him the minus is because you got blown out at home by Kentucky. You got blown out at home by your rival. So that's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, they got
for sure heading into the bowl game.
To me, they're a team that you just kind of scratch your head at a little bit because they had. I mean, they are, but they blew out Syracuse. Syracuse wasn't great this year. Blew them out. Blew out Duke, but Duke's not great this year. They were kind of right there, close with Virginia, and Virginia was competing for the Coastal. They were right there competitive with Wake Forest on the road, and they just missed. I mean, they were 4 points of tying both those games. So I just don't know.
So they lost something like 8 one-possession games, 8 or 9 one-possession games in the last 2 years. Like they just do not know how to finish.
It's like Nebraska.
And to me, I think that comes back to a little bit of the defense because I just don't think their defense is what it needs to be.
Yep. So, but not to kind of rush us off on the next team, but we do got to keep rolling here. So we got to move on to Miami here, who was predicted to go 9-3, finished 7-5, but I think it was a promising 7-5 in my books, honestly.
Yeah, I considered them kind of a little bit overrated preseason from the start. Actually, I thought North Carolina was going to be significantly better than Miami. I called Miami being overrated. I thought North Carolina was only slightly overrated, but I did think 7-5 was possible. I'm giving them a C-. You can maybe bump that up to a C, but the only reason it's so low is because that 7-5 was considering I thought the ACC would be a little bit better than it actually was. So it's not like they had any significant wins or anything. But discovering Van Dyke down the stretch definitely keeps them from getting into that D range because I think he's the guy. Probably
100%.
top 5 quarterback in the ACC next year, if that could be better.
Yeah, I agree. Megan?
Yeah, I had them Miami as a B-, and I think a lot of it has to do with how the emergence of Van Dyke, and I feel like probably we're all going to say that same kind of thing, but he saved their season. He said, I mean, you could argue like a whole different conversation how Miami just totally embarrassed themselves with this whole firing of Manny Diaz. It was me mad.
It should have saved Manny Diaz's job. It should have saved his job.
It should have.
Yeah.
Because Miami is so full of themselves. I'm not going to go into that conversation. I just think
keep it civil. Keep it civil.
Yeah, but Van Dyke, man, he was great, and he did lose some games. Like he did lose to the rival Florida State. But I mean, the big wins against NC State at home and then going on the road to Pittsburgh the next week and beating Pittsburgh. Everybody thought at that point, oh, Pittsburgh's like this juggernaut in the ACC. Are they the real? And it's like, well, that was the game. Then Miami won. You're scratching your head at Pittsburgh. You're like, are they? Maybe they're not what we thought we were, or maybe Miami's a lot better than we thought they were to a degree. So I think they were above average to a degree, barely. Again, I think C is average. C is just passing, but I think with Van Dyke, it's a little bit better, a little bit something in the B range. That's why I have B-.
Yep. Michael?
Yeah, I give him a solid B. I mean, if you had said if Derek King had stayed healthy and played like he's capable of playing the whole season, and they finished 7-5, like that would have probably been like a C- or D+ season. But I think with the way Van Dyke ended up playing and showing he's definitely the future there, I think a solid B is good grade for them.
Yep. Yeah, no, and I know for us, when we lost to Miami originally, that it was like a huge frustration point going, how can you lose to Miami with their backup quarterback? And it's like, Okay, not such a bad loss anymore, really.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
Again, I mean, that was Manny Diaz coaching for his job, and so I mean, again,
I'm just glad we don't have to deal with Miami the next few years. Put it that way.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, for me, I have them as a B-. I think that they're a little bit better than average because Van Dyke was so promising.
Right.
And obviously, having 2 wins over 2 top 20 teams on your resume is very impressive for sure. Yeah. And I think that especially against Washington State, they definitely have a chance to really build in some momentum. Unfortunately, with the Cristobal era now instead of the Diaz era. So, so keeping it rolling here, we got to move into NC State here. Predicted preseason, well, but Vegas had over under like 6.5 wins or something like that, and we went 9-3 overall. So, so Dan, what do you think about our NC State?
Yeah, me and my podcast partner Jason, we both very much had value on that over 6.5. It'd be right when those odds came out. So I think, I mean, anybody who knew what they were talking about would have had the over on 6.5. But I'm going B+. Just like
I'll take it.
Yeah, like they couldn't finish the job, win the Atlantic, go to the ACC championship game. Like they ended up losing that game to Wake, but just the very, very good, the best you could possibly be without being into that A range, right? You end up beating your rival, and you're churning out like giraffe talent on both sides of the ball. So it's a like very good. And just not into that great range. I think that's how I describe it. B+.
Yep. Make it.
I had him at an A-. And you talk. I get what you're saying. Very fair points. I thought relative expectations, they exceeded it. I thought individually, when you look at the emergence of Devin Leary, that he did beat Phillip Rivers' records. Akeem Ekwonu is considered the number 1 tackle in the country. He's a consensus first-team All-American from everything. Defense, and I think a big part of it is a lot of his defense because Tony Gibson's job, in my opinion, he should have been a top 5 candidate for that Broyles Award because when everybody thought Peyton Wilson went out and then C.J. Clark went out and Cyrus Fagan went out, they thought it was over. Well, then they lose Isaiah Moore. Then they lose, I can't remember who else they lost. Tyler Baker-Williams for a little bit. They lost
Savion Jackson.
They lost Savion. I think they had like 3 original starters on defense by the end of the season. And they were still like statistically like in these top categories all over when you look at their defense. Won games. I think their identity could be their defense and Devin Leary's throwing. They give us a chance to get 10 wins, which only happened twice. I mean, once, and this would be the second time if it happens. I think when you look moving forward, they're not A because they couldn't get that win against Wake Forest, and they dropped the ball against a Mississippi State team, which I saw people think that the Mississippi State quarterback could be like a dark horse Heisman next year, which I was like, no way. Will Rogers, I think his name is, and then. They lost to Miami. So I feel like some of the games they could have had clutch games to get it. They couldn't get it done, but they still exceed expectations, and they were right there on the doorstep. Sure. So I gave them like an A-.
Yep. Michael?
Yeah, I gave us a B+ too. I mean, we were right there, exceeded expectations, but it was almost like from the beginning of the season, yes, we exceeded expectations, but it was almost like halfway through, it was almost our division to lose at one point, again, and then we just couldn't get it done against Wake Forest.
Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need, offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. Well, so for me, I feel like there's kind of two grades here. The first one is kind of the subjective view, kind of like from Dan's perspective, where you're not really a state fan. So I agree from like a non-state fan perspective, you look at it as a B+ for sure. But from an NC State fan perspective, the one thing which I'll say is obviously beating Clemson, getting the Clemson.
Yeah, I forgot about that point.
Yep. That's fair.
Shrug off. I mean, you got to give a little bit of extra love into that because that was huge to pull out that win, especially the way that you did with Chris Dunn missing the field goal and still finding a way to win that game. Even with Dunn missing the field goal, and then even Carolina. I mean, holy smokes, what a win! And then like Wake Forest again, we never quit. Again, we fought the entire game. And again, I mean, honestly, we should have had a chance there at the end of the game to at least tie the game, if not even go down and win the game against Wake Forest. Go ahead, make.
Let me add this point too. The Boston College game. That's a game State would have lost in the
super
past.
Impressive.
State would have won the big game, and then the very next week with the opportunity to really take the lead, choke. They didn't.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was when State fans were like, we can do it. We're going to do it. And we almost did and just came a little short.
Yep, but hey, we're getting everybody back, so it's going to be exciting. So yeah, for me, I gotta get from a state fan perspective, I gotta give it A-, but I'm not give it A because I give an A as kind of we made it to the ACC championship, and A+ is we won the ACC championship. So I can't give it any more
so
than
to
A-.
tell what a future grade's going to be.
Yeah, that's
you could argue NC State's be favored for the ACC if DJ is still the quarterback for Clemson.
Yeah. I mean, I can agree with that.
Saying if he is the quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm making sure. Yeah, you're not saying. Yeah. I got you. Yeah, I would agree. I think that speaking of the whole conversation, I think you could. There's an argument there that State might be the favorite next year.
Yeah. Yep.
At least Vegas. But.
Sure.
Yeah. Now, one thing is, a question I wanted to ask as we're heading into North Carolina here, who we're talking about next, is would you? And I'll ask Dan this, because I don't want to have like a discussion about it, but I just want to kind of hear an answer on this question. But would you have rather have lost, if you're a UNC fan, would you have rather lost the way you did against us, or would you have rather lost like 50-7? Like would you rather gotten blown out, or would you rather have lost the way that they lost to us?
No, definitely getting blown out. That is just
embarrassing.
The way
I agree.
Voted, and I saw some fans like on Twitter already celebrating their victory. I'm pretty sure I like had a tweet in the drafts ready to congratulate UNC, and then I had to delete it.
That's right, you did.
Darn right. I get it. Okay, so now heading into again UNC, who again, I mean, we can talk about all the preseason predictions. All the preseason predictions predicted 9-3, start off and all this jazz. So, but ended up 6-6, 3-5 in the ACC. So, Dan, be as harsh as you want to,
as we will.
And D-. I said D-. Yeah. The only reason they passed is because they went to a bowl. But like
that's the exact same logic I used in my grading.
Me 3.
Like they're almost Georgia Tech, but just like with a lot more talent, right? Like it's the same kind of like a lot of hype and not the development that you really want to get from the roster that you have. And it's just way too much talent in recruiting to be going 6-6. The narratives that you guys, the rival fans, you guys, NC State love to pitch forward and like say like it's pretty much come to be true.
Man, that was music to my ears.
I agree.
But no, I totally agree. And I genuinely don't think State fans are exaggerating when they say they get so much talent. They get so much talent in State of North Carolina, and they do nothing with it consistently. If you go look at the track record, I mean, their best recruiting class was like 2008, I think, and they never beat NC State for the next 4 years.
Even into the Butch Davis years, they would do that.
But they get so much talent, they just don't do anything with it, and it's. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I get it's Michael Jordan school, but more to this season, exact same reason. What you hide the expectations going into the season for them. I think it was hilarious and hysterical that Mac Brown was like, "Well, it's the media's fault we're playing so bad. You guys do." It was like, you mean to tell me you didn't believe it? Really? Come on, you weren't buying into it and selling it yourself.
He called them
so
overrated. Bad. He went out and said we're overrated.
Well, he did that after he was like, well, after the losing, he was like, oh yeah, I knew we were overrated. Yeah. You guys, Come on. Give me a break. But
terrible.
He probably would. If they would have won, he would have been like, oh, yeah, we're trying to live up to our expectations. He would have done that. He's just selling. So, again, that's obviously me being a fan of NC State and a rival to them. But I do think it's true. I think anybody saw that. So, Sam Howell, Heisman contender stuff didn't happen. Mm-hmm. Really great. They wasted a year, the greatest quarterback they've ever had. They wasted it. And
he holds on to so long.
You said what?
I'm sorry. He just holds on to the ball so long. That's been a problem since his freshman year that just didn't improve.
But they learned that he can run, and he can run well. They learned that.
Yeah.
And I mean, they didn't win a single road game this year. The only consolation is they get to go to a bowl. That's it. So they're barely not flunking.
Yeah.
So Michael, we're kind of run short time. So, but sorry.
Yeah, from my biased fan perspective, I gave him enough, of course, but because I mean, really, if you look at it, they're the team that underperformed the most in the ACC. I mean, you 100%. Could argue Clemson too, but Clemson at least still finished 9-3. Maybe them still making a bowl bumps them up to a D-, but I had them as enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, again, I mean, it's just two things. First of all, I mean, there's no doubt UNC wasted one of the greatest quarterbacks, to even come through. I would say the ACC over the last couple of years. I mean, I can even say even beside Trevor Lawrence, even. I mean, he was so talented and just wasted him. But also, too, again, one thing which I even say as well is I think it's pretty known that I mean, because I've talked to multiple Carolina fans who all believe this that follow football is that I mean, Mac Brown's only going to be with the program for maybe 2 more years, maybe 2 or 3 more years at the most. So I mean, time is of the essence, and so I mean, if you're looking for a guy like Mac Brown to build you up, I mean. Yeah, I mean, facilities and hype-wise, you're building up, but not really results-wise. So, and I mean, because I mean, what are you going to say to your next quarterback recruit? Hey, we're going to make you the next Sam Howell, highly overrated and no results.
I'm going to add some color to it. To be fair as a State fan, their season this year in football was similar to NC State's basketball season in 2013, where we were preseason ranked number 6. Everybody thought you guys are going to be so great. This is the year State does it, and we blew it. They blew it for Carolina. Fair. And I didn't believe in them because they didn't have the 2 running backs, 2 receivers. They lose all those yardage, but they had the expectation. Mm-hmm. So
yes, they did. So with that being said, I think we're going to hold it right there for part 2. So again, we're going to finish out the AC here with part 3. So make sure tune in with us as when we release part 3 as we finish out here. But just as a reminder, make sure to hit that subscribe button again, as it really helps support us in the channel. And also to make sure that you're actually notified whenever we release new content. And also to make sure if you haven't already gone and checked out all of our other NC State content, like our interview with Debbie, make sure to go check that out. And give this video a like and give us a follow at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter or Instagram. And also to make sure to give Dan and his crew over at ACC Content a follow on Twitter at ACC Content. So make sure to go check them out there for all of your ACC sports analysis. Again, a great site to follow, so make sure to go and check them out. But thank you all so much again. As always, hey, go Pack, y'all.